meant to be an excuse, but I do think it's one of the reasons he's had a little bit poor play. Like, coughing a lot, trying to practice through it. Dardoch's even talking about it in interviews. So I don't think Bjergsen has been playing very well so far. I wonder how much of that is due to the sickness, and I wonder if this Syndra can unlock some of that classic Bjergsen.
And whenever Silas is locked in a game, the first thing I always look at, which ults are the big ones to steal? You already mentioned the Ornn ulti potentially being huge. Qiyana's ultimate is among the most powerful in the entire game. So there's some huge team fight potential if Ruin can steal a right ult at the right time.
I feel like it's pretty much those two that he should be trying to bounce between. I don't think he's great with Syndra ult because he can't stack the orbs.
Yeah, you only get 3.
Yeah, he's pretty good with Rakan ult because it just adds to his CC chain. But yeah, Ornn and Qiyana seem kind of unmatched for Silas to steal.
The teams are loading in. We got one of the most historic matches in all of LCS loading up. These two orgs been around longer than pretty much anybody else. And I want to take you all back into a time machine here real quick, because before week 5 of summer 2019, it had been, I believe, 1,176 days that CLG went without beating TSM. For those of y'all who don't want to do the math yourselves, because I didn't want to do it either. I just happened to have a computer earlier, so I did.
Days.
That's almost 3 years without beating a team that they've had such a long rivalry with. They break that last summer. And for CLG fans, even if you're not doing so great right now, even with a 0-3 start, some of them would say, I'll take that as long as the one that's that first win is TSM.
Absolutely. And if you're able to match records with them, that means even more. Something that I really want to track this game early on is the Olaf versus Qiyana. I thought when Dardoch played earlier this week against EG and Svenskeren was playing Kindred into Dardoch's Gragas, that's something where you have to be really good at predicting where the Kindred is going to go as the Gragas, and I thought Dardoch did that really well. Like, Kindred did I'm going to get a bit too detailed, but the Kindred did an invade onto Gromp, and Dardoch then did his Wolves as the Kindred was running up, and he basically called it out perfectly. It's so important that Dardoch predicts where the Olaf is properly, because the punish, if you fall behind on jungle Qiyana, is so big, especially with the nerfs. So early ward by Wiggly into blue buff, and we'll see where they go from here.
It's just the nature of playing an assassin in League of Legends, right? You have to be able to cross a certain damage threshold, or that whole big, bad, scary assassin jumping out at you all of a sudden looks like a crappy Halloween sock puppet jumping out and going boo. You're not exactly afraid of it realistically anymore, and Olaf is just one of those champions that there are very few among the roster in all of League of Legends that can stand up to him in a 1v1 early.
Absolutely. And Wiggly, you're just going to see how quickly he power clears. Like, already done 2 of the most high XP camps in the game. Will be level 3. Like, just all right. Just compare. Like, Dardoch is actually still on Raptors, just finished. Wiggly just finished his 3rd camp. So already 2 minutes, 15 seconds into the game, Wiggly is a camp up on Dardoch.
But look at the pings coming out from the side of TSM.
They saw
so
that board.
CLG is tracking it. They see where Dardoch just was, but you saw the pings on the Gromp and the Wolf, and then the exclamation point ping on the red saying, hey, we expect that he's right here right now. We're expecting him to be on red. This is where you don't want to be.
Exactly. So that's the sideshow that's going on in comms, trying to track where Wiggly's going to be early. Wiggly missed his axe, though.
Unlucky.
Yep. That actually...
You don't lose a whole lot. I mean, he's got blue, so it's not like he didn't have enough mana to
look at this. They're invading a low health Olaf.
Bjergsen and Dardoch could go after something here. They won't.
They're trying to catch him at Krug. So a lot of times Olaf will be trying to finish his full clear for level 4, and TSM's on it.
They have discovered Wiggly. They've chased him away from the Krugs, but they won't get much else here just yet. Instead, they look to set up a 3-man dive here onto Ruin, but considering Wiggly is right there, it's way too risky at only level 3.
Dan, that was a little odd. So if we're thinking about timings, Wiggly missing his axe on red delayed his start of Krugs, which actually might have saved his life in like the worst way possible. Like, that's just...
It's one of those plays that you describe as so bronze it's challenger, because it seems like just a mistake, but then it's not. And it ends up resulting in a state where we have 0 kills to 0 kills, 3.5 minutes in. TSM tried to make the move. They didn't get it. We are paused. I will update you all as soon as we know exactly what the reason for that is. But yeah, Wiggly stays alive. He's happy about it. As you mentioned, Olaf, part of the reason he has that lightning fast clear is allowing himself to stay low HP in the jungle. And while people do respect him as this incredible early game duelist, if you find him instead of him finding you, sometimes you can get that early game, almost cheesy feeling kill.
Yeah, absolutely. They went for it. They were unable to get it. That will end up putting TSM in a disadvantageous situation. The pause is on the CLG side. We are currently investigating where that happens because I'm pulling up the gold right now, and Wiggly is 250 gold ahead of Dardoch. It's basically like a minion wave or 2 camps worth, because he cleared 6. Dardoch cleared 3 plus Scuttle, so 4 camps to 6, and he still hasn't recalled yet, so you're seeing like that. I actually like the playing off a strong mid lane Syndra to go invade Krugs and try and get that double buff kill. When that doesn't work, that means Bjergsen didn't use his mid pressure for anything necessarily, and Dardoch was basically spent a bunch of time not farming to go for something. So really small stuff, only 3 minutes, 44 seconds in, but that's what we've seen so far.
Right. It's small things, but you're generally not going to have something massive to talk about in the first 3 minutes of the game unless somebody makes a really crazy play, which that TSM move had the potential to be. But CLG wisely playing around it. As soon as they saw something was up, they're like, okay, we need to be careful about this. Bjergsen's missing from mid lane. Wiggly manages to keep himself alive and safe, and everything's going just fine here for the side of CLG. No update yet as to where the pause is, what's going on. We'll see here in just a moment, hopefully.
Yeah, and let's set the stage a bit for what's going to happen later in this game, because we know in week 1, TSM was 0-2, but they had the best gold difference at 15 of all teams in the LCS. It was plus 1,900. I think a lot of that is because of how well Dardoch was doing stuff in the early game, right? He had those 2 exceptional ganks on double lift at the start of their TL game. Yeah, their first game against Immortals as well. They were able to get the bot lane going. Kabe had a pretty successful Senna game, all things considered. But around the mid game, all of their CS just got outpaced by the other team. They were either overgrouping and not finding stuff, or they weren't pressuring the map adequately as a team. So the big improvement steps for TSM kind of as they go forward is like, hey, let's find ways to successfully wield these leads in the mid game.
And talking about what TSM needs to do, I want to also look at CLG, because Smoothie is the player that we heard from coming into this game, talking about what he thinks Biofrost's weaknesses and strengths are as a player and how Biofrost doesn't play for the team as much as Smoothie does. And Smoothie's someone who I'm going to be watching particularly close here this game.
I was just talking about the unfortunate ganks on double lift, and he doesn't like being...
yeah, he's just...
Hi, Peter.
It's a cameo. There you go.
Yeah.
Easy. But with Smoothie, he was one of the ones who had a lot of unforced errors in their game earlier this week.
Yeah.
Remember when Ruin gets caught out topside, he ends up giving away a second kill for free. He's actually the pick in his own side of the jungle that results in them being able to win the game, and them ultimately losing the game, their opponents being able to win later on in the same match. So Smoothie, in particular, especially after saying you're out for TSM blood before this game, I want to see him really tighten his play up once we get into that mid and late game phase.
Yeah, and both of these teams have struggled in the mid and late game. They just struggled in different ways, right? TSM has been unable to find the correct play. CLG has been actively making the wrong play, which puts themselves in that negative position. So I'm kind of fascinated to see how this one plays out, because CLG has the right idea, like they should be trying to force things with these leads. They've just been so uncoordinated in doing so. The early laning phase for CLG has actually been one of their stronger points, where they have been individually playing pretty well, just haven't been able to translate that at all. Wiggly with invade.
You can see here Olaf doing what Olaf does best, walking up to the opposing jungler and saying, this is mine now, you gotta go home. And there's not a whole lot Dardoch is able to do about it. So Wiggly will steal away some of that money there. 31-25 in the jungle CS count. First Drake spawning here in 3 seconds. We may see some attention paid to that one. And it does look like Wiggly is going to start it up. That's a very early first Drake.
Yeah, right at 5 minutes, but you can see where everything is set up. They have a deep control ward. They have mid lane pushed in. Remember, Bjergsen did that early roam, so he gave up mid priority. Bottom lane with Tsm-Clg has been pushing in as well. So really easy for Wiggly to pick that up.
We've been seeing most first Drakes go down around 6 to 7 minutes when a team wants to pursue them early, but on spawn is a whole nother level here for Counterlogic Gaming. And Wiggly will go right back into farming. As soon as the camps are up, he's able to just mow them right back down. Bjergsen and Crown, nobody really having too much action here just yet in the mid lane. And bottom side, Stixxay and Smoothie are the ones with lane control right now, so you'll see them pushing up, having their opponents underneath the turret. Smoothie feeling confident walking up there, not too afraid of Biofrost and Kabe trying to force anything onto him. They've got the minion wave.
Yeah, and no fear of Dardoch right now. I believe Dardoch just killed off the control ward that was a Raptor, so they know he's transiting up to the top side. So Stixxay and Smoothie are just going to try and harass as much as possible, and they're able to disengage with Tahm Kench if TSM ever tries retaliation.
And speaking of the top side, look at that CS difference between Broken Blade and Ruin. Broken Blade is actually farming so much better than his opponent is on the Sylas. As Dardoch tries to contest the Krugs against Wiggly, he's falling pretty far behind in CS himself, and these are really the two biggest differences you're going to see across the map right now as the carries in the other lanes are dead even.
Yeah, and there was an early flash burned in the top lane, which is possibly why Ruin is playing so conservatively. One of the big reasons CLG is pushing down bottom lane is because Stixxay had an early recall on Pickaxe and teleported back. Kabe now matching, which I think is interesting. Like, that's why CLG was playing so aggressively. They were trying to force that TP out of Xayah with the Rift Herald spawning at 8 minutes that CLG is likely going to try and go for. Getting that bot lane TP down is quite important.
It prevents a situation like what we were talking about last game where one side can just leave their AD carry bottom to do whatever because they know he can TP in. And especially when you look at TSM, they're not the ones with the Senna this time. In the last game, Turtle was still able to help because of his global ult, because of the Dawning Shadow. Xayah doesn't have that sort of a luxury. She's got to be there in person, and Kabe will have to hoof it up there if that's the play here in this game. 30 seconds until the Rift Herald spawns. Second round of buffs are coming up now. Wiggly will pass the blue off to Crown. And TSM are the ones with control over the bottom side now. Dardoch still only level 5 on the Qiyana. Wiggly already level 6. So it means he's not too scared whatever he runs into here with this Olaf. This is one of your favorite points in the game. Once the Ragnarok comes online and you can just do as you please. Bottom lane, it's Stixxay and Smoothie looking to go in. Kabe fires off that ultimate, manages to dodge away from the CC and keep himself alive.
So really, TSM's bot lane just in defensive mode for a while. The weirdest thing in this game, though, is just like, look at that top lane CS grow. 25 CS advantage already for Broken Blade over Ruin. And Ruin still having that TP on cooldown, plus deep control ward vision for TSM. Like, if we're talking about Rift Herald fights, having that kind of top lane priority could end up really helping TSM here. There's a good chance we'll see a fight around Rift Herald.
And especially with Broken Blade playing against an AP champion in lane, with both enemy solo laners being AP based, building Abyssal Mask and getting the Ornn upgrade to it is the most ideal thing Ornn wants to do early on. The upgrade to Abyssal Mask is absolutely incredible in terms of the stats it provides, the gold value you get from it. It's pretty far above most of the other items. And Broken Blade being able to do that and have it not only making this massive meatball in the team fights, but in the 1v1s as well. Just look at him, man! He's destroying Ruin in the 1v1.
Woo! Another flash burn from the top lane. TSM right there didn't bother trying to fight the Rift Herald. They don't have 6 on Qiyana yet. It'll be on CLG to make that Rift Herald a proactive play since none of their lanes have been able to push to turrets. CLG actually got 2 plates down bottom lane, and the expected value of a Herald is about 2.5 plates. So that's not necessarily a bad trade, especially since Blade just gets another turret up in the top lane. And look how far up he's playing.
He just does not care. Wiggly's made his way up, but a 2v2 could quickly go the way of TSM with how low Ruin is. The stolen Ornn ultimate is used. They force the flash out of Broken Blade, but considering his jungler is right next to him, he's not afraid to stick around long enough to push that wave out. Look at the gold difference, chat. 1.3 thousand this early into the game, and I guarantee you most of it's in top lane.
900 of it is in top lane. and 400 of it is actually on Bjergsen, who has built a 20 CS advantage of his own. So team solo lane so far in this game for Bjergsen and TSL has been working.
Stixay finding himself jumped on here on the bottom side, but Kinch does what Kinch does best, keeps that AD carry safe, and I still just love the fact that Tahm Kench is a champion that has been nerfed so many times now. He is essentially just a get-out-of-jail-free card for your AD carry. But in professional play, that is so important. You're essentially willing to say, yes, I want a 5th button for my AD carry that keeps him alive, and that is what I will draft for the support role.
I got some thoughts on Kench, but there's a Drake happening right now, so we'll get back to this.
We'll discuss the Kench after. We'll discuss the Kench after, because TSM is going for that second Drake of the game. If they pick this one up for themselves, that'll tie it up at 1-1. Cloud Drake means ultimate cooldown reduction, and Dardoch will be left to secure that one, gets it for himself with a smite. Oh, this is the first game this year that I get to cast that has my favorite Drake Soul. I call him the Therapy Dragon.
It's just so calming.
It's so peaceful. You can be tilted out of your mind. You can be 0-5 in lane. Somebody rage quit from your team, and it's still just peaceful, man.
Because of the plants, or just like the color tone?
There's flowers, and there's color tones, and it's rainy. You just put on some lo-fi chill hip-hop beats to study, relax, and jungle to, you're going to feel great the whole time.
I don't disagree with you, but there's also something terrifying about the added brush. Like, sure, it's all
You
like,
only play against Rengars?
Yeah. Oh, funny story. Rengar actually has a lower win rate on Ocean Rift than he does any of the other rifts.
Because it makes the Rengar players just strictly try to do meme stuff with the brushes instead of play the game correctly?
That might be part of it. The hypothesis is that there's so many honey fruit that people are high health, and he's an assassin. So he actually needs low health people to succeed. Like the brush kind of helps, but there's enough brush anyway.
Interesting.
Didn't think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the honey fruit, but those will be all over the rift here. You know, those spawn near the buffs now, along with the river. And so much extra brush means more opportunity to hide in those, set up some sneak plays. Almost all the way around the back part of the red buffs means it's so much area to hide in. As a TP comes in top side, Stixay makes his way up there. You can see he's following up from behind, and CLG make the swap.
They're going to rift. So they want to get the second plate down before this rift. That's why they teleported up here, because they're going for first turn and a kill.
Oh, Broken Blade, this is not a fight you want to be finding yourself in. Despite the strong laning, CLG put the bodies in the right place to grab the first blood.
Yeah, and first turret after this one. So that's... You're always looking for a play like that with Rift Herald, and they were able to find it. Broken Blade had been playing so aggressively and so successfully that he was going to be pushed up in that situation, and like, that was just pure brute force. Broken Blade, I wasn't paying super close attention because I actually didn't think in my head that he was in danger of dying, but I don't know if he just immediately ran away or not, because CLG brute forced that first turret.
And with that turret going down, CLG quickly swing the gold back into their favor. They put a lot of it onto Stixay as well, making sure the other members left when the turret went down so that he was able to acquire that bonus for himself. Ruin will barely manage to keep this bottom lane tier 1 alive for the side of CLG, and let's take another look at the top side play. Yeah,
so Broken Blade actually thought he was okay there, but then he's just trying to hold the turret back, and as soon as he gets hit by the Senna W, he's dead. Ruin gets exactly the right E2 timing, and then Wiggly is unable to be CC'd by the Ornn Horn at the end. So works out for CLG because Broken Blade got just like a little bit of greed. In the past, I think in week 1, Broken Blade actually played with too much respect, not enough greed. But moments like that is why you sometimes can't create a top lane.
This is what early on in the split's for. You got to dial it in.
It's like this infuriating top lane thing where you're pressured to get CS and stay by your turret when you're in danger of being dived. And then when the dive actually happens, you think, ah, crap, shouldn't have done that.
I should have got away. I should have gone home.
When you're hiding behind your turret, no one's there, you go, ah, crap, I should have stayed for CS.
Well, he's staying down here in the bottom side, and he's making the right call this time because there's no dive potential from just Wiggly and Ruin. So he'll keep farming up. Still has a 30 CS lead over his opponent. Mid lane, you can see Bjergsen has the Super Soaker here on the Syndra, and this is something that we've seen pretty much all sorts of mids start to do. Is Stixay and Smoothie looking for a fight here in the mid lane, but there's that Super Soaker! Smoothie's going home. And let's see what else happens now as Ruin fires off a stolen Ornn ulti. Not going to get much else with it, but that is one kill for TSM.
Yeah, at the very start of that play, Smoothie and Stixay actually did a nice little sidestep on one of Biofrost's W's, but in doing the sidestep, Smoothie extended a little bit closer to the mid-turret, and the rest of TSM has run for him. Now, they want more.
Now the real Ornn is summoned, but Stixxay manages to get himself to safety before it ever makes the connect. So that means CLG are able to stave off that play and keep himself quiet.
Yeah, missed engagement there. Not going to have that Ornn ultimate for the Drake fight. Invade on blue buff, though.
Crown getting a little bit of damage onto Bjergsen, but Bjergsen manages to use the blast cone to escape the chain in a way that even though it procs, he spins most of the route in the air from the blast cone, so he buffers it really well.
Yeah, Dardoch and Dardoch and Broken Blade have spent a lot of time together this game, threatening dives with like a nice CC chain, but they've actually gotten very few kills out of it. So in that situation, Dardoch was actually preemptively camping that bottom lane turret to shadow Broken Blade, but no one was there because Ruin had already gone top lane. So game's at an interesting inflection point right now with that Ocean Drake being up and Ruin having a teleport. COD doesn't have mid lane push. They could try and brute force Ocean contest, but it looks like they're going to defend.
CLG also has the second Rift Herald of the game. It has been summoned in the mid lane to take down the tier 1 turret. CLG wanting to trade those objectives, say, all right, you take the Drake, we'll get this. Is Shelly going to be enough along with Stixxay to take it down? Senna pretty slow at taking down objectives compared to most other AD carries because of her incredibly limited attack speed. And TSM will manage to keep that mid lane turret alive. We're 16 minutes into the game. You don't get plate money for that, so yep. Shelly doesn't get much done. Yeah, if you don't actually get the turret, probably not worth the time investment that was put in there by Wiggly. You would have rather have Wiggly down there posturing for Drake control because now TSM is one closer to Soul Point. Can we talk about Tahm Kench now? Yeah, let's talk about Tahm Kench. We got a breather.
I've been waiting for this moment. So,
all right, let's hear it.
You mentioned, and this isn't Menace Flame, but it's a champion that's only been nerfed. I disagree.
Okay.
Because he was at like a 40% win rate, but he had so much like niche protection power that he was unplayable in solo, like completely unplayable. His protection power, while still powerful, has been nerfed substantially. You don't move full speed with an ally in your belly anymore. You can't flash with someone in your belly anymore. And then he's been actually buffed in other ways, like how tanky he can be, how far his ultimate can go at rank 2. That's been buffed as well for the global power. So yeah, I'm fully on the like, I hate Kench train, but he actually has been buffed. He's been buffed a few times.
All right, we got to make sure we're being kept honest here as TSM goes for a dive in the mid lane, and that's a nice two-man knockup. Biofrost starts it off, but Dardoch, he's going to make sure he tries to use the supreme display of talent. It's one dead on the side of CLG, make it two. Dardoch's doing the work, but he's taken down by Stixxay. It's a 2-for-2 trade as TSM hold their position here in the mid lane, crown back over the wall, and everybody walks away.
And Kabe was free-firing in that team fight. Likely did the most damage on the team. That's the guy I'm going to be having my eyes on, whether or not he can avoid LeBlanc assassinations throughout the game, because he would be in a position to carry this one. Very back-and-forth fight in there, but Kabe also flashed aggressively forward again. So let's watch this fight one more time. Turret's about to fall, and LeBlanc had just shown top lane, so TSM says, hey, let's get it done. The Kiana ult into the Ornn ult, but a brief reprieve as Smoothie gets the Devour, and then just like, watch Kabe here trying to go for this extra kill, knows the Devour is down, but Stixxay does counter flash away as he plays very aggressively.
Back-to-back supreme displays of talent there as Ruin also
so confusing.
Stole Dardoch. It turns the entire team fight into just absolute madness. And it's only going to get more so as the game continues forward and we see those cooldowns go down. Proto Belt completed on the Silas for extra burst potential. I was already talking about how the GLP, or the Super Soaker, as a lot of people tend to call him, is completed for Bjergsen. We've seen this change away from the Luden's Echo that used to be so prominent. People much prefer the utility of the active on the GLP these days. It helps set up your skill shots, make it so you can guarantee the rest of your damage comes in.
And it helps self-heal a little bit too, which is one of the biggest weaknesses of the Syndra. So like, yeah, I totally agree. It's just landing one extra ability is more important than getting that Rooted proc, and that's why we're seeing a lot of these CC-focused mages go for the GLP.
TSM managed to take down their third turret of the game. That's the final one of the outer turrets of CLG. Part of the reason why TSM have this 2,500 gold lead. With CLG now putting in work on the bottom lane tier 1, TSM is investing 4 men into the top side to continue their push, looking for the tier 2. Onto the Ruin dive. Is this going to be a counter kill? Not quite. The stopwatch will just barely keep Kaabe away from death's door.
Definitely got a little spooky there at the end for Kaabe, but a nice proactive play by TSM right there. So this is the situation that we talked about in the early game where, hey, both of these teams have struggled to do things with leads and in general in the mid and late game. But here, TSM gets full control over the top side of the jungle. They go behind the turret to make a kill happen, and they got to try and make sure they're keeping their other waves pushed and not sacrificing too much farm for it. If you look across the board, every individual actually has more CS. I was going to point it out, but it's gone now. Watch the dive now.
Yeah, we got to replay instead.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. Ultimate of the wall. He had stolen the Rakan ultimate, so it did give him that nice little bit of charm, and he landed that all-powerful E2 on Silas, the second part of his E, which has been buffed massively in one of the recent patches. Nearly gets the kill.
If the stopwatch wasn't there, the second part of the Q would have been able to explode to finish off the rest of Kaabe's health. He stopwatched right before that exploded.
Yeah.
So very clutch timing there, probably just mashing the button, hoping to escape the CC in time. Another Ornn Horn is summoned. It's going to throw Ruin right up into the air, and Broken Blade grabs himself a kill, and it's right as Ocean is spawning. TSM now has priority for this fight and for this tier 2.
They are just destroying Ruin this game. The early laning phase, after his early flash was down, Broken Blade just crushed him. Every time he's trying to defend a turret, there's basically 2 people there, and no one on CLG is there to cover for him, and Ruin doesn't know they're there. So it's just like rinse and repeat, get Ruin down, and that's what's given TSM this advantage.
And he's not on something like an Ornn, right? He's not a big old meatball. Silas needs damage. He needs to stay relevant to the game. And when you're just falling behind at this rate, imagine if Silas had 1,000 more gold in his pocket. There's another blasting wand when he went for that kill to take Kaabe down. Does that equal a kill? Probably. And that's what you've got to keep your eyes on, is exactly how things are going to look for him in terms of the curve of the game and where he's at. Can he manage to keep up? Or if he falls too far behind, is it just curtains? Because Soul Point is now there for TSM. 4.5 minutes from now, CLG will have to either defend that or give away what many people consider the strongest Drake Soul in the game.
Yeah, it's so hard to play against the Ocean Soul. Any poke you'll get down is pretty quickly gone, not to mention just the overall power. But yeah, just I'm trying to think of like what CLG should do in this situation. Maybe they should try and make a play with Kenshin side lanes, but again, you usually need a lead before you can set up pressure to do something like that, and TSM just has so many engage tools that anytime someone on CLG goes to a side lane, they're kind of just sitting ducks for an engage.
Here we go, speaking of engage, it's Biofrost starting it off. Any other champion's probably dead there, but Wiggly, he's got the Ragnarok, he immunes himself to the CC, he walks away, but he still has to go back to base to heal up. And with the enemy jungler driven out, TSM knows they now have control over the topside jungle of CLG to put down some vision and choke them out of this side of the map.
Yeah, they want to try and get something happening at Baron, but there are a few wards that CLG have that make them a little bit safe, and more importantly, Broken Blade is down here, but now with the TP, there's a fight.
They've got the charm onto Smoothie, looking to chain CC him, but CLG will find a pick onto Dardoch. Stixay's now alone against Broken Blade, and he's in a real bad spot. Smoothie nearly taken down there in the mid lane, 80 carry already gone. Xayah ulti not gonna find the kill just yet, but the feathers are pulled back, and Smoothie is out of there. It is a 2-kill fight there for TSM. Unfortunately for them, they do lose Dardoch, but it's still a win.
Yeah, and Broken Blade and Kaabe are just getting so strong. 276 CS 24 minutes in, and Broken Blade finding solo kills as CLG tries to run through the river. You would have liked to see Dardoch stay alive. He's actually fallen pretty far behind on this Kiana, as was kind of expected into the Olaf matchup, but the rest of the team is finding success.
And when the rest of the team is finding success and you've got an Ornn there to power him up too, that is more than enough. Let's take a look at the mid lane play.
Yeah, I was watching the Ornn play, so what happened to Dardoch? He just gets...
He got charmed.
He just gets completely obliterated, but then CLG felt pretty confident after that one. Realized, hey, wait a minute, our 80 carry's caught in the river. And hey, Kaabe and Bjergsen are still really strong, so they end up losing the fight on both fronts.
At least they got the kill into Dardoch. Otherwise, that could have been really bad. TSM could have threatened to go for a Baron or something similar. So that keeps them alive here a little bit longer, keeping their head above water, but down 3,500 gold, a little bit more even at this point, 25 minutes into the game. Not where CLG wants to be, as TSM will retain control over Summoner's Rift and continue just trying to shove these waves out, push them in, take control of the topside jungle. When the tier 2 turrets are down everywhere, it's so easy for TSM to command control of the match.
Yeah, and they're forcing onto Baron right now. Something that just always comes to mind when I see an Ornn in the game, since I think it's like the internet's favorite thing to comment on, is Ornn items. We were talking up GLP earlier. Maybe Ludens would have been better because
you can
Broken Blade doesn't have an upgradable item right now at level 14. He's already upgraded the IE, and no one else has something that can be pressed to give free gold.
It's something you've always got to consider. What does Ornn actually carry? You got to buy something name brand. He's not upgrading some Walmart brand Super Soaker that you bought for $5. You got to have something worth upgrading.
The Ludens Echo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's high value. Why Ludens is an upgradable Ornn item and GLP is not, I don't know. I don't make the rules, but it's true.
You were on the balance team. You made the rules for a while.
No,
why is there no Super Soaker, Jazz?
I don't know. Maybe every item should be an Ornn item. But either way, like, Death Cap's an Ornn item. The
all right, you got a good point. You got a good point.
Redemption's an Ornn item.
There's plenty of them, but unfortunately, they're not in the inventory of Bjergsen. I do believe you can upgrade the Banshee's Veil, so there is that.
Can you really?
I'm pretty sure you can upgrade it.
I really should know this. There's only like a few of them.
Biofrost is now finding himself in a bad spot. There's the damage. There's the kill. It's Baron to the side of TSM, but they've lost one already. Wiggly used the Ragnarok there, so he doesn't have that power here. The team fight breaks out. Dardoch going to be locked down. Damage coming through. Crown's going to be blown up. Counterattack comes out. Dardoch may be gone, but the supreme display of talent carries on in his name. Ruin's on the run and Kabe's on the chase. Broken Blade right behind him. And TSM find themselves an even fight, but they're wearing purple on the 3 members still alive.
Yeah, and the 3 members still alive have a lot of gold. CLG would hope to be able to get this Ocean Drake because they have a Smiter alive, but he doesn't have very much health. So Kabe, as long as he doesn't get hit by E2 in one shot, seems like they'll have this Ocean Soul in the bag.
That Q2 from Sylas looks like it did about as much damage as a drop auto attack. This is not where the Sylas wants to be. When I was talking about power breakpoints earlier, when I was talking about the curve of the game, he is most certainly behind it. Let's take another look at the fight.
Yeah, Biofrost, way too far ahead of the play. I think in his head he was saying, I'm just going to make sure they're not there for a steal because we really only care about the Baron. Probably didn't think he would die. He did. In terms of the fight, though, unless someone gets onto Kabe, it's not going to be good for CLG. Crown didn't do it. Smoothie didn't do it. Ruin didn't do it. And the rest of them died.
Well, by the look of this replay, nobody did it, and that's exactly why TSM are where they are right now. But the kick in the front door of the CLG base, they got the 6,000 gold lead to do it with. Is this the end of the game? Can TSM close it out before 30 minutes? 5 men strong, pushing into bottom lane, inhibitor turret down, inhibitor under pressure. CLG continuing to try to defend. Stixay's putting the auto attacks into Broken Blade, but he's just so damn tanky. Stone Plate now completed too means once he does go in, it's so much extra HP.
Yeah, they are so incredibly powerful at this moment. Broken Blade, that untouchable tank. They got 2 Baron cannons, so they're just kind of standing here, daring CLG to fight them as the cannons kill that turret.
Ornn ulti ready for the counter engage as well on the side of TSM. Ocean Soul healing everybody up. This is a siege machine for Team Solo mid. Unstoppable on Broken Blade means he's not going to get caught out by much of anything there. Still continues to retreat. TSM falling back as a unit. Crown nearly blown up by Kabe's auto attacks. The Molten Edge, the Essence Reaver. He's got 4 crit items, 100% crit chance on this Xayah. He has scaled.
That's a big Xayah right there. I think TSM's going to be able to at least break the second inhib here at the rest of their Baron, and knowing there's a Nexus turret down, not shocked if they win on this push.
2,000 gold for the Baron power play. Biofrost looking for an opportunity to engage here. The fight's going to be breaking out, and Crown is already gone. Ruin looking to go into the back line. Going to be having to go into stasis now. Taken out. Wiggly going on a killing spree. Taking down Dardoch. But man, it is just not even fair. TSM are so far ahead, and CLG will try to hold inhibitor number 2. Bjergsen's on the run away from Wiggly, but their damage just isn't available. CLG, they kite back, they try to survive, but Kabe is a war machine on this Xayah. Stixay and Smoothie hightail it back into the fountain, but TSM, they found the fight, they found the inhib, they're on to the Nexus turret. Biofrost just looking for more. Pad the stats, insult to injury. TSM will put yet another win in the column against CLG.
Just adding to the history there for TSM, and after a disastrous week 1 at 0-2, being able to 2-0 in week 2 and find themselves at 2-2 has got to feel pretty good.
And to fix it up and have this game end around that 30-minute mark. 30 minutes and 3 seconds. I said, could they end it before 30 minutes? Technically they didn't, but it's right on the dot. And that means they weren't goofing around. It's not like they didn't know what to do once they had the Baron. They got leads and they pushed them, and those are the things we wanted to see them fix.
Absolutely. And for CLG, it's going to continue to be that work in progress. The only winless team still in the LCS. That is not what they were hoping after actually finishing 3rd place last year in the summer split.
They had a pretty miraculous comeback over the course of summer split because they've been a team that, like I said, it had been almost 3 years before last year since they had beaten TSM. These two teams that were at the top back at the inception of the LCS, TSM sort of rose to greatness and stayed there for so long, and CLG just had to fight their way through the trenches trying to figure it out. And now TSM, once again, starting to take shape. The first couple of weeks can always be rough on any team, just getting things to work together. Like you said, Bjergsen has been sick as well, but this week was much better for them. CLG, still so many of these puzzle pieces to try to work around and fit into the right place.
Yeah, so many overreactions after week 1, and then you just try and react just as quickly in week 2 to try and rehandle things. Now that we are concluded, just looking at like the overall landscape, obviously Cloud9's feeling great.
Yeah.
Right? They're winning.
They literally tweeted after last game,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Dignitas. We're now undisputed #1. So
yeah, very true. But TSM here, preseason, people were looking at them as a top 3, right? Mm-hmm. After the 0-2 start, there was big questions of like, is it completely time to panic? The fact that they were, the clutch smite steal they had in that EG game to avoid going winless into this one, but then to also get that win. You're not going to remember necessarily exactly how you got here, but being at 2-2 with a 2-0 week means they can build on this week going forward.
It builds that momentum. We'll see how they carry it into week 3, but for now and for more on the win, Pastry is standing by with an interview. Take it away.
Thank you, Flowers. I am here with Biofrost, TSM support. 0-2 to start things off, but now riding the ship at 2-2. Now that you're at the end of week 2, Bio, does it, how does it feel?
I think our game yesterday didn't go as well as we wanted it to, but today felt a lot better. We kind of executed on our plan, and overall, it just was a big improvement from last week. Still not where we want to be, but it's a start.
Was there anything in particular that happened between week 1 and week 2 that kind of changed it for your team?
Yeah, I think after the first week, we just had a really bad early game, and it's partly because we just haven't been focused on, we had a really good early game, but a really bad mid game, and we just haven't been focused on mid game. But this week, we made a big conscious effort to try to fix a lot of the stage issues that we had, and I think we fixed a couple of them. We still have some, but yeah.
And then obviously, kind of a set of new players playing with each other, and you returning to the team. What has that been like for you kind of coming back to TSM?
It's always nice to see familiar faces and catch up. I always liked TSM because there was my first team and we always did really well. So, I like CLG too, but TSM is a little bit better, sorry.
Didn't like him enough today, I guess. Congratulations on the victory versus CLG. We're going to throw it back to the desk for the Bud Light.